Welcome back to another episode of Profusion. Today we've got John Richardson.
Andrew,
What's up, John?
good. I'm happy to be here.
All right, John. So that's like a cool name, right? Like people told you that.
John Richardson?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like
I like
John.
it. I don't know anything different, but I'm happy with it. I'm glad my parents named me it.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's like the Richard. It's like John Rich. Like it's just like
Yeah.
who
I
doesn't
get
want to
JR
be
a lot. I think it's conducive to good nicknames that stick. So had quite
John
a few
Rich?
of those.
Like don't they call you John Rich?
J Rich, JR, probably John Rich. I've probably gotten that before. Just Richardson, lots of different variations.
Wasn't there a country singer named John Rich?
Yes, there is.
Yeah, John. I like John Rich. All right, let's like knock out some credentials for you. What you got? What is John Rich up to? I know you're killing it in real estate. You're like you can run to California and back, right? So or bicycle. So give us like a 30
Run,
snippet
bike,
of
and swim.
what's that?
Yeah, so I guess I'll start with, that's a good question, credentials. Education background, I got master's degree in health administration. I did a lot of coaching at one point, so got CrossFit level 2 certification, USAW sports performance, that's weightlifting, nutrition coaching certified, John Maxwell life coaching certified.
Wow.
Gotten into triathlon recently. So I qualified for the Ironman World Championships in Kona, Hawaii, and I competed at the World Championships in Nice, France back in September. I was a track athlete in college. I ran a sub 4-minute mile and was a multiple Southeastern Conference champion at the University of Kentucky.
Whoa.
So I've always enjoyed competing and always enjoyed competing at a high level and really enjoy just seeing how good I can be at things.
Yeah. Well, you forgot about you're in real estate too, right?
Yeah, that's what I do currently, professionally. So
We like
we
to
moved
talk
to
about money here. We do like to talk about money.
yeah. So in real estate, I've had my license for 3.5 years and have progressively sold more. I'm probably sitting somewhere around 20 to 25 million annually in residential real estate sales, 20 to 25 transactions a year, typically about 2 a month on average. Been ranked in the top 50 realtors in Northeast Florida for the last 2 years. And me and my wife, we work together now, the Richardson Group. We're with One Sotheby's International Realty. And, we just love the opportunity to help people find their dream home. We love living in Florida. So it's an easy sell for us to, sell the Florida lifestyle. It's fantastic. We just wake up truly feeling blessed and full of gratitude every single day.
So you run a sub 4-minute mile.
Ran a sub 4-minute mile.
Ran. What would you run
Past
today?
tense.
What would you run today?
I run enough and train enough in triathlon training to be able to probably run somewhere like between 4:30 and 4:40, depending on the day. If I really wanted to squeak something out, like, give me a month to really focus on it, maybe I could dip under 4:30, but that's like pushing the limit, I think.
That's crazy, right?
It's funny because yes, like I feel very blessed to be able to move the way that I do at almost 40 years old. Like that feels really good.
Are you in the Olympic? Were you in the, like, you sound like I don't know.
No, I dreamed of going to the Olympics, right? Like I was probably good enough to legitimately like wake up in the morning being motivated to train for the Olympics. I never got close from this perspective of like, I was a second away. I had qualifying times for the Olympic trials but I was good enough to dream about it, but not good enough for it to like come true. Obviously I wasn't.
You ran at Kentucky, you said?
Yep. At the University of Kentucky. Mm-hmm.
All 4 years?
Yeah, it was 5 because, why rush something? Yeah, but it was 5 years. Yeah.
I like it. Okay. 5 years. So wait, explain the 5th year. Why'd you take 5 years?
Well, there's a couple different ways I could go with this. One, my freshman year, I got injured or like kind of injured in indoor season and then never fully healed for outdoor. So I ran cross country my freshman year, had a great season. It was really one of the best cross country seasons I had in college. We went to—
What is cross country? That's like running.
Like on grass.
What's that?
It's like you run on grass, basically.
But how far is it? How far?
5 miles before nationals, and then at nationals you run 10K. So you run 8K and 10K. So 5 and 6, basically.
Yeah.
But then I got injured my freshman year and had eligibility. So instead of stop running or going professional, I ran in college for another year.
I see. So you wanted to be there another year.
Yeah, it was a choice. And then like my senior year spring semester, I had one class because in the NCA, you have to have 12 credits to be a full-time student and to be eligible unless you're graduating. So I had a whole year where I basically had like one pass-fail class, which if I could do it again, I don't think it was enough structure for me. Like, when you're 22, you need more to occupy your time than just like 2 hours of practice every day. So a little more school would have been okay, but it was actually like a pretty enjoyable semester.
Did you have a job or?
No. Track and field. Just trying to be fast.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Sub 4 minute mile. I don't know. I think I ran sub 6 one time and I was like, that was it.
You should be proud. That's good.
Yeah. So you're about 40. So we got about 20 years in here, 3 years of real estate. What'd you do? 3-4 years of real estate, right? So this is kind of
about 4. I've lived in Florida for 4 years.
Okay.
I got my real estate license shortly after moving to Florida, and it worked as I worked in healthcare. So I went to graduate school for health administration. I got a job right out of an internship working in procurement and materials management and supply chain. And then over the course of 12 or so years working in this various positions in like a modern healthcare system. So the healthcare system had 9 hospitals, 500 employed physicians. And I worked primarily in physician recruitment and like strategic finance.
In where was this?
In Lexington, Kentucky. Well, Louisville, Lexington, Kentucky, central Kentucky. But we had hospitals all, I say we, like I still am a part of it. We had hospitals all over the state of Kentucky.
So what brought you to North Florida?
Lifestyle. Yeah, my wife and I, we just for a long time felt like a calling for adventure is the only way I could really describe it. Like there was something that we were missing, but we could never quite pinpoint what it was. Mm-hmm. And my sister moved to Northeast Florida because her husband got a job here, and we came and visited in 2019. Absolutely had like the best week of our lives. We just thought this place was so cool, but didn't really connect dots that we could have made this home. Then we came back like 3 months later because we wanted to just visit it again. And while we were there, we're like, we got to make a way. We got to find a way. We got to make this happen. And thankfully we did, because it's been awesome. I mean, everything.
And you changed careers.
Yeah. I my last day working conventionally, like in a corporation for this health system, was May 15th of 2020. And we moved on May 16th.
So you went from pretty much like a salary to like, you got to sell.
Yeah, I went from salary.
Did your wife have like salary still while you were here, or no? She
did. So she got. She was a teacher. She taught elementary school in Kentucky. She got offered a job here in Northeast Florida, and that was like a God thing. That just worked out so perfectly that she got offered a job right before COVID like shut everything down, teaching at an elementary school in Nocatee. So that was like enough to like, we sold our house. We had a pretty good runway. I remember having a conversation with her and just said, Andrea, I really don't want to work in a healthcare system anymore. I don't want to get a job. I want to be my own boss. I want to create something. I want to do something new. And she looked at me and just said, okay, I trust you. I believe in you. You can do it.
So what was like your first 6 months in real estate like? Like, how'd that go for you?
There was a lot of opportunities, but the results, right? Like that's how we're going to measure it. How many transactions you had? I had one, and that person randomly called my brokerage, wanted to see a house, and I just happened to be the person that was in the office that day. So it was like, just kind of a lucky sale. And there are plenty of sales like that happen in real estate, even now. Kind of another way to describe it other than right place, right time. Yeah. So I had one sale my first 6 months. And that led into like the crazy spring 2021 when houses were just like, nobody really could like get their grasp on what was going on because prices just kept going up. It hadn't plateaued yet. And every time a house went on the market, it was like, this one's going to go for 30 or 40,000 more than asking price. And it was just that really wild time. So I was writing a lot of offers, and I was actually working with a decent amount of people, but wasn't having like closings. And then just one day, one thing went under contract, and over the next 2 weeks, I had 7 transactions under contract in a really, really short amount of time. And since then, it's been pretty consistent, more consistent than I ever thought sales would be working for yourself.
The big Mo.
Yeah, exactly.
Momentum.
There is truth to that, right? When good things start happening, you feel like you're winning, elicits some confidence. You take a little bit more risk, you put yourself in more winnable situations, and obviously
and believe. You have to believe too,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, there's a whole mindset thing to that, right? Like, and anybody that's in sales, if you don't have the confidence that things are going to close or they're going to create opportunities, and then you're going to be able to capitalize on the opportunities, you're just not going to get the opportunities, right? It
But the
starts
first
with
6 months, though, man, one deal, like, were you thinking, I need to find something else, or?
I don't ever remember thinking that.
It wasn't that long ago, right? It was like 4 years ago.
Yeah, it was a spring 2021, winter 2021. I was doing some coaching at the time, and a decent amount of coaching. So like definitely enough to feel like I didn't have to
Nutritional coaching, or like
life and business coaching. Yeah, I was working with people just on whatever it was, personal coaching, performance coaching, whatever genre somebody wants to call it, but essentially helping people achieve goals. I was doing that, and that actually pays pretty well. So I was making money doing that, and I felt less pressure to sell. And in the meantime, when I was creating opportunities, I was meeting people, introducing myself, like getting involved in clubs and coaching. Like I coached at Nakati Fitness Center. I was just doing like anything I could to get in front of people and just meet people. I was like truly like grind mode, where sun up to sundown, you're just looking to create opportunities. And it was so exciting. Like I almost think back on that time, and even though I was literally going from like sun up to sundown, working in some way, shape, or form, it was exhilarating. Like it was almost like I missed that feeling of my back against the wall, because that's really motivating.
Well, you could just drain your finances and do it.
Right? I just need to buy more stuff.
Right? Like we can accommodate that. So like, I think that's called like a harvest period. I don't know. I gotta Google that, maybe, like
Yeah, that
harvest
makes sense.
period. Like,
right. Yeah. You're like sowing the seed to harvest it later, planting the seed or whatever.
So you were getting in front of a lot of people.
Yeah, that'd be. I mean, anybody that would have coffee with me, I would just go have coffee to meet them. One, to just build a connection, get to know people. Real estate's an awesome field to be in if you like genuinely connecting with people, which I do, because you just get to know them, and eventually they know you're in real estate. And like the life cycle or sales cycle of real estate is 5 to 7 years, right? So it's not likely that when you meet somebody, they're wanting to buy or sell a house. So it's not like it's instantaneous. You don't really have to do anything other than just meet people and demonstrate value, let them know what you're talking about. And hopefully at some point it will lead to a sale. But if not, it was just a cool conversation, an opportunity to get to know somebody better.
Yeah, but also like 6 months, like how come you didn't have a job while you were doing that? What made you know what I mean? Like have some overlap before you made the trip. You just kind of.
Well, I was doing the coaching.
Okay.
So,
you're still doing that.
So yeah, I didn't have a job from a W-2 sense. I was self-employed. Like I went from full-time employment on Friday to Saturday living in Florida with no employment at all.
Right.
Like that happened overnight. And that was, May 15, 2020. So I've been fully self-employed for 4 years now.
Right.
So money was coming in. If I didn't have that coaching income, it would have looked a lot different, I think. That was a blessing in the sense that it alleviated stress from. It allowed me to build the real estate business the way that was true to me and genuine.
How were you getting coaching clients?
So I work
through podcasts.
Yeah, through podcasts like this. Yeah. The coaching clients, I work with a coaching company. There's a friend of mine in Kentucky, and she does a great job running this company, and that facilitated leads, and I worked with them.
The Bluegrass. Did you ever go to the Derby while you were there?
I did. I went my freshman year of college. That was the year that I was redshirting, because the Derby's early May, which is prime collegiate track season. So this was like the only opportunity I was going to have to do the Derby as a college student. And we had a great time. I did the whole like infield, you wake up early, tailgate, go into Churchill, catch all the races, stay till the last one, and head out in the evening.
So you recommend going? That's
definitely
like a bucket list item. Go.
Yeah. And, I wouldn't do the Derby that way now that I'm, almost 40 years old and have money, but it's a good thing to do. And
How much
locally,
money do you have?
not enough to do the Derby the way that some of the people you see on TV.
Well, you got to dress up, right? Like, did you dress up? You get
Yeah, I would. I even I think I dressed up and was playing. I wore a sport coat and a tie and stuff, and then went and stood in the mud in the infield. I mean, most people dress up kind of nice. If I were to do it again, I definitely wouldn't be in the infield. I'd probably try to get grandstand seats to some degree, and I'm a little cheap probably when it would come to that, so I wouldn't splurge. But I've done it a lot of times. Living in Lexington and in the horse culture and industry, the Derby is like what people that don't live there do. So people from Kentucky, they'll either go to the Oaks, which is on Friday, and then the Oaks on Friday actually got to be too commercialized. So Thursday is called the Thurby. That's what the locals do. So if you want to be a true Louisvillian,
is that a race? Is that a horse race? Or
it's a horse race? Yeah. So it's the lead into the Derby, but it's Thurby.
So it's the Thurby on Thursday, and then the Oaks on Friday, and then the Derby on Saturday.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah. It's and then Lexington has Keeneland, which is very popular for fall horse racing and spring horse racing. And the lead into the Derby is the month of April. There's the Keeneland races. So if you live in Lexington or really anywhere in Kentucky, that's the place to go is Keeneland.
So let's talk about all these medals right here, right? You're running, swimming, bicycling,
Those
cycling?
are the three. Yeah. So swim, bike, run in the triathlon. Behind me, these medals are from Ironmans that my wife and I have done. So I've completed 4. She's done 3. My 5th one will be in October. It's a 2.4 mile swim, a 112 mile bike, and then a 26.2 mile run.
How long does it take to do this?
My best time is 9 hours and 40 minutes.
You could swim that far in nine hours?
Well, the swim is less than an hour of that.
You can wait. You run 26 miles.
Yes. Bike 112 and swim 2.4.
How long? 26 miles takes, it takes 4 minutes. I guess for you, it's 4 minutes a mile.
That's 7 minute mile pace. My best marathon in an Ironman is 3:17 or 3:18, which is 7:15 pace. But
26 miles is a long.
Yeah, it's really.
That's what, a 30-40 minute drive, right?
Yeah, it's not short. It feels extra long after you've been on the bike for 5 hours.
You don't walk, right? You don't walk. Or do you walk?
The strategy that I have, and a lot of people do this in Ironmans, is that you actually walk the aid stations. So roughly every mile, give or take, kind of what is conducive to have an aid station on the course. They'll have water, Gatorade, gels. They've got Coca-Cola. Once the sun goes down, they'll have chicken broth. They got all this weird stuff out there just to because people are just ravenous, right? You've been working out for a long time. You need to burn some calories. So I'll walk the aid stations. So I'll get some water or some Gatorade, walk for 15 seconds, and then start running again. And it really just kind of helps mentally break down that 26 miles. You're kind of I'm going aid station to aid station. That's all I really need to think about. And then when you walk, it brings your heart rate down, and then you make sure you digest the, whatever it is that you took.
And every mile there's an aid station.
In an Ironman, yeah.
26 miles.
Dude, there's not a worse thought than being mile 111 on the bike and being oh, I'm so glad this bike is over. And then saying, holy cow, I have a marathon to run. You almost forget about it.
Wait, how long was the bicycle ride?
112 miles.
See, cycling, I can't process in my head, right? Because I don't do that. So I don't know, can you bicycle really fast? Is that
it's 23 miles an hour.
Right? But so how long does it take to do 112 miles?
About 5 hours.
But can't you take your feet off the pedal? Can't you coast?
You can coast a little. Yeah. That's why cycling, you can do it a long time. Your heart rate at least for me, my heart rate never really gets that high because it's like a muscular fatigue thing, right? Like I get lactic acid before my heart rate does. So I don't ever really get out of breath, but it's just sitting like in an uncomfortable position. Because just imagine one sitting on any chair for 5 hours, right? It just like doesn't feel that good. But then you're hunched over and your elbows are kind of like this, like, because that's an aerodynamic position. And like you have to like pee your pants. Like you can get off the bike if you want, but that like takes time.
What about like shitting?
I would definitely stop. I mean, I don't care.
You stop the shit. Okay.
I'm not competitive enough.
There's an aid station for that.
I'll pee my pants and just squirt water on myself, but I draw the line somewhere. I've got standards.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
I don't know what, I mean, I'm sure somebody has.
Do you know the Iron Cowboy? Have you ever heard of this guy?
Yeah, that guy's a freak.
Yeah, he was okay. Yeah.
You know what's the most impressive?
Well, you're a freak, dude.
It's relative, I guess, right?
Yeah, I guess so. So he's a freak for you.
Yeah. You know what's most impressive about his 50 Ironmans in 50 states in 50 days? Like, I couldn't imagine being in 50 different states in 50 days. Just the travel alone would be
you just forget where you are.
Yeah. I mean, he looks so miserable in that documentary too, and his poor family.
I haven't seen it, but I booked him for the podcast actually. And
Get out.
Yeah. I talked to him a bunch, and he kept like, "Oh, I gotta be here, I gotta be there." He kept kicking the can down the road. I was like, "Dude, fuck it." I was like, "Dude, no, I'm not canceling and rescheduling anymore." I'm like, enough. But
it'd be a good listen. I don't know nothing about him personally or what he's like as a man or a father or anything like that. But what he does, endurance.
His daughter got married, and that was like another one. And then I was like, oh, I gotta eat his book, and I didn't get to eat his book, so I didn't mind that he kept pushing it back. So 112. So you like piss yourself is fine. Like I get that. Like that's it's just water, right? But like.
Yeah.
So the whole thing takes 9 hours.
Yeah. And
do you think I could do? I've never done. Do you think I could just do it?
Like no training?
Yeah.
No.
Really?
It's too far. It's too hard. Yeah.
Which part would I like? Just.
If you don't
what would happen to me? It would just take too long, or would I like?
So in an Ironman, there's time limits. So like.
Okay.
Could you do an Ironman? Yeah, if you took a week to do it, like I bet you could, because you just sleep a little bit, like take your time. You have to do the swim in 2 hours and 20 minutes. And the swim, I think, would be the biggest limiting factor for somebody that doesn't train or doesn't have a swim background. So do you have a swim background?
I have a pool.
Okay. Do you swim?
I jump in and I get out. I do ice baths, but I don't know if that helps. I don't know where
swim would be hard.
I think ice bathing would help me mentally, right? Because that makes me mentally tougher. I've noticed I can endure, like I can tolerate a lot more in my life, but I don't know. I don't know what I don't know, right? This is like, can I go fly in outer space? Like this is like outer space to me. Like, I think I could do something for 9 hours. Like give me like an AirPod and like 4 books and I can do anything, right? Like,
well, the biking is just being really uncomfortable. Like anybody could probably do the biking.
How long? How long is the biking?
112 miles.
And but how many minutes? How many hours?
It takes me less than 5, just under 5. Sometimes
5 hours just in biking.
Yeah.
Holy of the 9.
Yeah, and you can't wear AirPods. You can't.
Well, why not?
It's not allowed. I don't know. USA Triathlon, file a grievance. It would be awesome if you could.
Come on. That's not fair.
I've always thought you could like hide them in your helmet. I don't do this, USAT, if you're listening, but like you hide them in your helmet that nobody would know.
You're competing? Like, is there a prize if you win? Like,
I mean, there's like, if you're a professional, you can make a pretty good living in triathlon. For me, I get like a little Ironman plaque when I finish if I win my age group. Nothing beyond that. Right. I mean, it's cool. Like it's competitive in the sense that people take it very seriously. Like the people that excel at Ironman have to train a lot. There's good like sponsorship opportunities for people like me and Andrea, like being a good age grouper, which is what like people call the amateurs, age groupers. has like a pretty cool result. Like if you get good at age group triathlon, you get pretty good perks. So yes and
What's
no.
the best perk?
So I have help with entry fees. I get with my team Everyman Jack. So like the
But
soap
is
company.
this worth not putting AirPods in?
Like if I got DQ'd.
Like that's what I'm thinking. Like I would still rather have my AirPods than reduced entry fees, right? Like
I don't know. Maybe you take the gamble and just hook them up inside your helmet. On when you're running, they would just like kick you off the course. Like you just get disqualified right away. But you could hide them in a bike. Like, and I bet people.
But I'm not going to like be competitive. I don't think, right? Like so.
Well, they just made
crazy that they won't let you do it. Like, what is the rationale behind that?
I think it's safety. But now that they have like those ocular, like the bone conduction headphones.
No.
So they make them like for swimming, and that's what I use if I'm cycling, because I don't want something in my ear, because I want to be able to at least hear like cars a little bit. So I have these bone conduction.
Right.
headphones.
So there is that whole component like on the road, which is like not safe.
Dude,
right?
Cycling is terrifying.
Yeah.
That's the thing I hate the most about training for triathlon is biking outside.
Right.
And we live like where we are in Northeast Florida is great for cycling, like in terms of what the rest of the world and like the rest of Florida, Southern Florida places, like they don't have stretches like we do that are flat, straight bike lanes. A lot of places you're on like curvy roads and hills and even like country roads. People are going 60 miles an hour and don't care.
Yeah. But I see them on the road like in groups a lot, right? So they like kind of like band together, that's
pelotons.
Well, like you see like all these cyclists together.
Yeah, there's safety in numbers for sure.
Safety in numbers, yeah. So and then running, is that on the road? Is that on the road as well?
Yeah, typically it'll be like either a loop course or an out and back that you do a couple of times. The run is definitely the hardest of the Ironman disciplines because it's at the end and because it's far. It's 26 miles. There's nothing like you can walk a lot of it too, though. So to me, like even if I'm walking,
you have to do it within a certain time.
17 hours total. So I've never really been in a position where I was worried about like time limits. But a lot of people like that's a thing is people get timed out of Ironmans.
Yeah, I would probably. What's the maximum on the time?
17 hours. And there's for everything. So 2 hours and 20 minutes for the swim. I don't know what the bike cutoff is, like 12 hours maybe, and then 17 to finish and they'll have like incremental stages, right? If you're not past mile X at Y time, you can't continue. I think if you train for it, just, knowing your physical stature and size and fitness and stuff, you could do it for sure.
Like trained.
Yeah, trained. Absolutely.
How long would I need to but I don't want to train. I just want to do it. Training is not fun. Like
this is what I think. If you wanted, like anybody listening, you included, like if you wanted to do a really hard triathlon with very limited training, a half Ironman would be perfect.
Half Ironman.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that would be, 7 or 8 hours. I think most people could do it in 7 or 8 hours. None of it's going to be too far where you're like, that was just too far, like an Ironman is.
Yeah.
And I think that
I get worried about drowning, right? Where are you swimming?
Depends on the race. So
is it like in an ocean?
Yeah, it's open water for sure. It's not going to be in a pool. So like I've done Ironman Florida. That was in the Gulf of Mexico. I did Ironman in Tulsa. That was in a lake. I did Ironman in France, and that was in the Mediterranean.
I get scared. Like I'm in open water. Yeah. Like, do people follow you with a boat?
There are boats out there. Yeah. I mean, people die in triathlons regularly, and they always die in the swim. But most of the time, it's from a heart attack. It's not from like inability to swim.
How old are they?
Older. Usually, it's like the profile of a male that gets a heart attack, right? Late 40s, early 50s, somewhat fit, just has like that random widowmaker heart attack while they're going in the water. No explanation.
Does anybody get like bit by sharks?
Sharks?
Yeah.
It's probably happened. I've never gotten bit. Jellyfish stings, that's pretty common. Most of the time you have a wetsuit, so you don't feel it, but it's definitely spooky. I mean, I don't get So I swam open water this morning. I was in the ocean. And if I'm training by myself, definitely can freak myself out. I can get in my own head about sharks, and I should. Like, this is a pretty
Right.
sharky area.
Right.
In a
Well,
race,
do
I
you
don't ever
wear a
think about it.
wetsuit or are you just wearing a bathing suit?
I just had a Speedo on today.
Oh,
So
wow. It's
that
like
it was just
hazing.
super exposed.
It's like getting hazed. Like, go.
Yeah.
Wait, no, is that what they wear in the triathlons? They
You
wear
wear a triathlon suit. So it's like a full sleeves to like just above your knee, like half, short sleeve, half above your knee, just like spandexy feeling suit. So for the whole thing, that's one of the
how do you
uncomfortable
know
parts.
where you're swimming? They don't have lanes. Like, what? I
No.
don't even like.
You
How
got
do you?
buoys. So it's a pretty easy course. It'll usually be like a box or, like pretty straight. And the buoy markers mean different things, right? So you either want to keep them you either want to be on the right of them or on the left of them, and by the color of it, and then where the turns are. It's not easy to swim straight, but it would be hard to get lost. So a lot of times it's called siding. So you swim with your face in the water, you breathe to the side, but then you come up to look where you're going, and then you swim at it. So some people swim off course, but I typically am pretty good at siding and swimming straight.
Wow. So what is you just like to run? You just like to exert yourself, right? Like that's
I like a
like
challenge.
what's that?
That's a good question. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like, why do I do this? Right. Like,
Yeah, because I like sports, right? Like there's a ball. Like I'm like a dog. Like I like ball. Like I like to hit a ball or like tennis or golf, whatever it is. Like there's like points and there's a ball and
what is
relatively
interesting?
safe.
This is
Right?
this is an interesting. This is the first time I think I've ever had this thought, is that I don't get a whole lot of, like, ball sports don't induce a whole lot of competitiveness in me, right? Like, I'm a competitive person, but if we were playing like pickup basketball or something, like, it wouldn't, and it never really did get me like super competitive. But I love the competition that's in like a race, like a foot race or a triathlon or
You
swimming or
want to
something.
win. You want to get to the line first.
Yeah, I like that feeling. And even if I lose, I just like the feeling of knowing, like, well, that was all I had, right? Like, I gave it a really good go there. Like, I don't know that I could do much better. Like, I like that sense of accomplishment. I also like winning, but
It's so different.
yeah, like in a ball sport, you just don't, it's hard to know, right? Because there's so many variables. Like, did I play the best I possibly could? Maybe, I don't know. Like, did we lose because of me or was it somebody else? I just like knowing whether or not I got all of it. I got all of my.
Well, I feel like you just have a lot of time with your mind.
Yeah.
Right? Like maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah. And
Right?
I've always been pretty good at that. Like,
Mm.
like working hard has never been hard for me, in the sense of, like, I could do something really uncomfortable for a really long amount of
But
time.
what are you
Okay.
thinking about for 9 hours?
Oh,
Right?
man, it comes and goes.
Yeah.
My first Ironman, I remember specifically thinking, it was around mile 72, I think, because I looked down at my bike and I saw this like bridge going over a ditch. And I was like, I would love to just pull over right now and throw my bike in the ditch.
Oh my God. Okay. Hold that thought. You want to pull your bike over? Okay. I climbed, Rainier, Mount
Yeah,
Rainier. Because
that's
you're
a good
crazy.
hike.
Crazy person like me, right? So I was climbing Rainier. There was a blizzard and we couldn't get to the summit, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? We went in like it was a bad month. We went. Anyways, there were times where this is crazy. Okay. I'm hiking. I'm going up the mountain. I'm like, I think I want to jump.
Just end it.
Yeah. I'm like, it was in me and my brain was like, why are you saying that? And my body was like, no, do it. And I was like, what the fuck is wrong with me? I was like, and I couldn't look. I had to stop looking.
Does that happen to you with heights often?
I don't really, that was like, there's no elevation in Florida, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I travel, but like, that's not something I frequently do. You know what I mean? Like, that was just kind of a guy's trip. We're going to go hike Rainier and do something crazy. Like, I trained for it a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, I got a 30-pound backpack and did step ups and stuff like that for a couple months. You know what I mean? I'll tell you, I was crazy sore afterwards
I bet.
to like no end throughout my entire body. But did you ever feel that way when you're doing this?
Um,
No, you
yeah,
wanted to
there's
just
moments where you're like,
wanted to
you could just
like,
crash your bike and this would be over.
do you think like, or did I make you think that? Did you
No,
actually think
absolutely.
that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I could just, I had thoughts like that when I've been in running races, like just trip and it'll be over. You know, like could
Yeah.
I sprain my ankle right now? Like I'm
Yeah.
gonna try to sprain my ankle because
Right.
it's just like that negative part of you can creep in for sure.
Yeah. So what? So that was like, what are you thinking about for 9 hours as you? Because you're like at any time you're like, I can stop. Like I don't have to keep doing this, right?
Yeah,
Because this is hard, right?
yeah.
It's like an ice bath. Like, it's 1 minute. I don't need to do one more minute. You know what I mean?
You
I can
ever
just
been on a you ever been on a road trip and you get where it is that you're going and you're like, yeah, I don't even remember driving. Like, it's like one of those where you're like, I don't really remember a whole lot of individual components of it. I know that it wasn't that enjoyable, but now that it's over, like it really wasn't that bad. There's part of an Ironman that's kind of that way, where once it's over, you look back on it like way more fondly than when you were living it.
Mhm.
Um, as far as individual thoughts go, like you can get caught up in a race, right? Like there's that dude, he doesn't look like he can ride a bike well. Like, why am I behind him? I'm going to pass him. In the swim, you're just like kind of want it to be over. The swim is always like kind of, it goes really quick.
Mhm.
But also swimming for an hour, it's a long time to like have your breathing regulated, to be wet. So that actually is probably the one where I'm like, want it to be over the fastest. And it typically is. And then in the run is probably the one where things slow down the most because you're not traveling at 20 something miles an hour. You're walking. That's the one where you probably have the most negative thoughts, I think, because
Wait,
everything's
which
moving
one?
in slow
Which
motion.
one? Which
The
one?
run.
The
Yeah.
run. Yeah.
And that would be the easiest to stop. Like I could just literally sit on this curb right now and it'd be done.
I think that's like a consensus, right? Like, why do people run?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know.
what are they doing? Like,
Well, people will be like, "Oh, like running's different for me. Like I don't enjoy it like you do." And I always ask, like, I want to know what they think I like. What do you mean like I do? And they're like, "Well, yeah, but you just go out for a run and you enjoy every step." I'm like, "No, that's not true. That's never been true ever. I just like that once every 10 runs where you feel invincible. That's what I like because 9 out of 10 times it's not that fun."
I see. So you're trying you're chasing
Yeah.
feeling that you can
Right,
get.
like golfing, right? Like an amateur golfer, you have that one hole where you par and it feels really, really easy. You're like, I could do that every single time, but the reality is you can't. It's just not an easy game. You just had an easy hole. Like I feel that way with running. Like that 1 out of 10 runs, I just feel unstoppable. I love it so much. The 9 out of 10 is just kind of like, I feel good when it's over. I know that it's healthy. I know that it's a good thing. I like competing at it, but it's not that enjoyable.
Yeah. So you don't have to do it.
Right?
You don't have to do it. Do you
Everything is a
sign
choice.
up and you're like, I'm committed?
Yeah, nobody's making me.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and that's what's kind of like wild about being the age that I am and having like, full agency of my entire life at this moment is I'm choosing to do that. But there's a lot of power and it eliminates a lot of negative thoughts when I'm like on the starting line and I'm like, I paid a lot of money. This is like a big time commitment. I'm going to take this pretty seriously today. Like, I really want to do a good job. I really want to know how good I am at this. And I'm going to enjoy every single step. I've worked hard to get here. Whereas when I was competing, when I was in college, it kind of had that feeling of like, oh, well, I'm on scholarship. Like, this is what I'm good at. Like it was easier to have negative self-talk when I was younger, as opposed to now. Like as a 40-year-old who's competing in exercising, I don't have the same mental hangups that I did when I was young. Like I won't have a bad race now because I wasn't mentally tough. Like I'm well past that. At
Yeah.
least I think.
No, for sure. Could you beat your younger self?
It would depend on the race. In an Ironman, yeah, absolutely. Swimming, yeah, probably. Biking, yes, because I didn't bike at all. And then running, we'd have to run really far. Like young enough, like far enough that like 20-year-old John would just be like, that's dumb. I'm not running that far.
Right.
But I
Yeah.
am like pretty happy. Like 20 years ago, if you're like, hey, when you're 40, you'll be able to do, whatever it is I'm doing now, I would be like, heck yeah, like way to go, future John. That's awesome.
Yeah. I'm wrapping my head around like, John, let's just do a half triathlon
You could do it,
right
man.
right now.
Do it
Right
tomorrow.
right
Do
now.
one component of it. See if you can swim 1.2 miles tomorrow.
Well, like how far is 1.2 miles, right? Like how far is that? How
2,000
like
yards. So like go to the YMCA and do 2,000 yards. That would be how far.
so how long is like a lap pool? Like how many laps is
Uh,
there?
so like there and back is 50. So what's, how many 50 yards would that be?
So 10 would be 500, 20 would be, well, that's there and back is 50.
Yeah. Yeah. So 10,
Oh,
20,
my
40,
math
40 there and backs.
40 laps.
Yeah. 40 there and backs. Yep.
So 80 laps, really.
80 laps for an Ironman. Well, yeah. 80 theirs.
Can I stop?
Not in an Ironman, but in this hypothetical thing you're going to do tomorrow. Yeah. I'll let you do that.
But like in an Ironman, what if I have to stop? What if I'm not
You can
like,
float on your back. Some people will breaststroke. Yeah, and you're actually allowed to rest on a boat or a buoy or anything. You just can't make forward progress. So if you got out there like, I am freaking out, I need to stop and just catch my breath, grab onto a buoy or like a jet ski or something, breathe. The guy's probably going to be like, you're okay, you can do it. And then you start swimming again. That would be fine. You could do that.
so you're just stretching your body to the limits.
Yeah.
That's
And like there are people that are way faster at this than me.
they
Like,
would just they're just destroy you.
Next level. So like I said, I'm like, high 9 hours, sub 10. There are people that are like mid 7s, like the true professionals.
Well, that's not that far off, right? That's not that.
It probably sounds closer than it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I could probably train with those people to some degree, but like on race day, I mean, they are like the amount of effort that they exert for 7.5, 8 hours. I mean, it's just like very, very close to all out, like full gas for them, right? Like they're conditioned to just operate at a very high level. Like they're Ferraris that run at like, 10,000 RPMs for a really, really long time.
Yeah. So I know you do these with your wife, right? She does these too.
Yep.
You get your kids into it also, or are you like, no, I don't want them in this world? Like,
so I ask them all the time, like what because they do a lot of different things in different seasons. So it's always interesting to me to see like, what do they like the most? Cause they're pretty well-rounded in terms of what their interests are. Like they haven't really picked anything that they really love yet. So I want to know, like, what are you really into? And most of the time, whatever season they're in, that's number one. But like triathlon sports, like running, biking, swimming, because they do kid triathlons, but it's not like a season or something. But they'll be like in a season of running or a swim season. They don't do cycling season, but like they ride their bike a lot. So triathlon sports typically sit around like 3 or 4, and then the other sports cycle through. So I'm pretty happy that they're at least like in the top 3, because it's like not a fun thing. It's not like they get to hang with their buddies and like they do when they go to soccer,
Yeah. I didn't realize we were going to go in the deep end here on the.
We've been talking about it for a while. It's good. I like it
because my mind is so blown. Like, I've heard about it, and I, but I'm actually like my brain processing, you know what I mean?
It seems like a normal thing to do, right? Like you hear people do Ironmans and okay, it's like a triathlon, they're into it. And when we really think about like how far it is, like it's like pretty insane. It's one of those things where the first time somebody thought of it, they're probably like, that can't do it. Nobody can do it. And now, I think it's a testament to, what the human potential is in terms of what people can achieve, because it is outrageous.
Yeah. It like makes you think like you can do any, like, where are the limitations, like here or there? Like, wow.
Far beyond whatever we think, because as soon as somebody starts trying to do something, like there are very few things that like humans have set out to do that they haven't done. When you think about like truly what humans have achieved in innovation or like inventions or physical achievements or anything, like what's left? Like there's not a whole lot of things we haven't done, and we'll continue to keep pushing those envelopes, or the robots will take over.
I'm a robot.
Some of these
So
Ironmen, I think they are how fast they go.
yeah. I watch Goggins. He's a nut, right? You're familiar with him?
Yeah.
I used to be hooked on his mindset because he's just crazy. He's just insane. I read his book and the Itzler book. You know that one?
Yeah.
That was hilarious. Is Living with a Seal is #1 most funniest book I've ever read.
I haven't read it. I'm just
You never read that book?
No, should I? Is that like should I read it tomorrow?
Dude, if you're into this stuff, like I'm not even into this stuff, and I read about it because he's basically, this guy Jesse Itzler, he lives in Atlanta, and he founded Marquis Jet. You ever hear of that? It's like a private jet company, blah blah blah, and he's like does what you do. He's like you know what I mean? And he sees this freak right on the track, and he's like, that guy's just running with all broken toes with Ritz crackers and a lawn chair, and he's like, this guy's insane. And he had heard about him, and he's like, come live with me for a little bit. And it's like basically he makes him look like me versus you know what I mean? Like kind of like, you know what I mean? Yeah. He's like, oh, do 100 pull-ups. He's like, in a row? He goes, we ain't leaving until you do it 100. I tried to do 100 the other day. I only did 30, and I was like, dude, I'm done. And I'm still feeling it like 3-4 days later.
I did 100 for Murph on the Saturday before Memorial. Yeah. And I've done that workout a few times, but I hadn't done it in a while. And I'm like a well-conditioned athlete. Obviously, we've been talking about Ironman and stuff, but I don't do a whole lot of pull-ups anymore. But I did Murph and did 100 pull-ups, and I seriously think I had rhabdo. I was sore for like a whole week. I'm just now able to like put my hand over my head.
Right. It gets you like right on the backside right here, real good. And then I was running, and I'm like, man, that's some meat on my back. I could feel just the meat pounding on my back. I'm like, I feel like a bag of meat, You did 100 in a rep, like not 100.
Not like I came off the bar, but I didn't break it up. Like I did all my pull-ups before I did any push-ups.
Yeah, but you took a rep, like 20 in a row.
Yeah, I would do like 10 stop, 10 stop.
I think
by the end I was doing 1.
Yeah, 1. Yeah, exactly. He did like 7. He's like, nice. Like, all right, that's as many as I can do. He goes, no, we're doing 100. And he's like, all right. And he did like the next 90 one at a time.
In singles.
Yeah. He's like, I am not a pull-up guy. You know what I mean? He's like, we ain't leaving until you do it.
That's funny.
And then the next morning he's still going. Imagine just going through a whole new routine after you did 100 pull-ups. Like, well, I guess you did.
Well, sometimes with Goggins, I'm like, does this guy need help? Like,
yeah,
we're all like applauding him, and he's motivating us and stuff. But like, is he just asking us to like intervene and see if he's okay?
Maybe. I think it's just like, let's see how crazy of people we can just throw on stage sometimes, right? Like, if you could just act crazy at all times, like you can get on stage in places.
Yeah, he's just a motivational speaker.
And people will like it. Like, I think it's just promoting like craziness in this world, and you can thrive on that, right? Yeah. Like, it makes sense. Like, sure, just be you, just be authentic. And that's kind of like where the zone he just lives in.
Yeah. He doesn't leave that crazy zone.
Yeah. So like business, tell us about like has this helped you do better at real estate as selling, basically sales, right? Sales is the lifeblood of not being a W-2, right?
Right.
So have you seen correlations to the two by any chance? Or
I think so. I mean, one, in terms of like, if you work really hard at something, that's going to carry over, right? That becomes a personality trait. Like I'm a big believer in how you do anything is how you do everything. So I approach triathlons like I want to be very successful. I'm not going to approach anything else with that and any other different way, right? So that carries over. Now, being specifically like heavily invested into triathlon, you could argue like, well, that takes a lot of time. That's taking away from work. But I think real estate's a cool business and anything in sales, right? If you demonstrate something that's memorable about yourself, I think that helps in sales, right? It's a conversation point. It's like, oh, the Richardsons do Ironmans and, they probably work really hard and they're good at it. Like if they're good at that, they're probably good at real estate or good at whatever it might be that we were doing. So I think there's a carryover there for sure.
Yeah, I agree. A balanced life's like a balance. Like
I couldn't just do triathlon and then expect to be successful at real estate.
What do you like better?
Well, without real estate, I wouldn't be able to pay for electricity. So
do we need electricity though?
Right. Not if I was all in triathlon. Maybe I could just like go
exactly
and be okay.
I really need a TV in your house. No. Do we really need Alexas?
No. Yeah. Needs and wants, we've gone well past needs and into the wants category.
Yeah.
But I, truth be told, when I first got my real estate license, I was apprehensive. I was like, I don't know that I'm going to like this. It seems weird. I don't know. This isn't really what I had in mind when I was going to be a business owner and be an entrepreneur and work for myself. But now that I'm in it, I see a lot of value in what I do. Whereas I think I was skeptical to what realtors do beforehand. I see how I'm interacting with people and I see the impact that I can make in a financial transaction and in the lifestyle decision that the people that I work with are making. And I enjoy being part of that process. There's a lot of coaching that goes into being a realtor and helping people do hard things. There's problem solving. There's, obviously the upward potential of being self-employed and being in sales. Like that's financially rewarding. It's establishing a great quality of life for my family, which I'm very proud of and very happy about. And then above all else, I love the human connection that I make with the people that I'm working with.
Yeah, I agree. So what are you reading?
What am I reading? So
do you read?
I do. I like to read. I don't read as much. I go through seasons, I think, where, I get really curious about something and then I'll read some books on it, or I feel like I just have some time and then I'll read. I'm not big into like audiobooks. I definitely have listened to audiobooks, but I'm not one of those people that always like puts.
What are you reading right now? What are you reading right now?
Right here, right next to me. My buddy got me this book. It's called Outwitting the
Devil.
Devil.
I love that book. I love it.
Not too far in. How many pages am I in?
Outwitting the Devil. Yeah, but it gets better as you go in.
So that's like the main book. But if you could look right here, I've got 5 books. I'm kind of one of those where I sort of look at them like magazines.
Yeah.
Like, and I've adopted this principle. Like if I'm no longer getting something out of a book, I just move on. Like I'm okay leaving a book unread. Whereas before, like maybe 5 years ago or something, I'd be a lot more selective about what I get into because I knew that I'd want to finish it before I moved on. Now I just, kind of look at them. I'll pick up a book and start reading right away.
Any last words of wisdom here?
If I've been thinking about this quite a bit, is that, you don't win a triathlon, you don't win life, you don't win anything with any single one big day. You win big events by continually doing little things consistently along the way.
Kaizen,
constant improvement.
All continuous improvement. And it's a great book too. All right, John, thanks for coming on.
Appreciate it. Have a great day.